Good afternoon. It is July 1st, 2022, and today, really, you had to play today like a range day. There was definitely an upward bias, but for the most part, this was just a range day. So we'll take a look at this. Well, let's take a look at this measured move from the overnight, and you can see we came up short up here, but then you can see we found some resistance right here, but then the trend just continued upward. So let's take a look at these trades. So it's market. NinjaTrader's registering this now. I am on the East Coast, so 8 o'clock comes, which is 5 o'clock when I usually do it. 8 o'clock comes right about here when we made it. Looks like these are two measured legs down. Let's see. Yeah, just about almost perfect. So if you saw that, this is a new high right here. So this is a second entry long. I was considering going long here. This is a second entry long, and really I was looking at this as a range, and it's a higher low. So you might go long there. And if you don't go long there, you get this second entry long. But signal bar is not great here. So, and then we're just chopping around above the EMA, and then we get the opening, and prices go up here, probably test the overnight highs and lows. Let me get that on there. I didn't really find these to have much significance today. At least early on I didn't. So let's see. Midline. So yeah, the midline doesn't really do much for you. Maybe it does over here, but you can see towards the open, we test that opening price, find rejection, and we find support at yesterday's closing price, come back, test that, find some more rejection. So maybe when you get that double test, maybe you do take this lower high right here, and that would technically be a second entry. Oh no, it's not a second entry short because you have this that breaks lower right there. But there's reasons to like that, because it doesn't look like a great second entry short, but looks like a lower high. We bounce down here, and we're just chopping around. So actually, technically, this is a failure right here, but I don't really like that on these days. But we come up here, and at this point, it looked like maybe we would be in an uptrend as we break above the overnight highs. And this is like a hidden second entry long. You can see this up, and that's a good signal bar. It's also like a breakout pullback. So I think that's a good entry. Find support off this range high that I had drawn. So I like that entry, and you can see a lot of other traders did too. We come up, we make a new high, first entry, second entry. And this looks like one move down. So I mark this as aggressive, especially when this goes sideways and you have two dojis in a row. So that's aggressive, but it is a second entry. And I've seen these before. I've seen these fail before. So especially when it's a bad signal bar. And you can see we finally break below the EMA right here. Probably trap a bunch of shorts before going long, and then trap a bunch of longs, and you get this first entry. Failed second entry, but that's too far from the EMA. And if you draw this channel off the lows, you bring it to the highs right here, you get this, and that's a first entry, second entry, no setup, unfortunately. And we just rock it on down. Nothing right here. First entry, second entry, not a good setup. But really what I thought was this kind of looks like it's just sideways. Let me draw that. And so, I mean, I wouldn't say this is a double bottom because it doesn't look like a double bottom, but it kind of looks like this is the first, second entry. So I like that. It's the first break of this channel, so we're expecting a new low. And it's also a double test. So I think that's a good entry. Very bearish signal bar. And you get a first entry failed, second entry looks like this is the failure right here. So we got a new low in place, and that's not off the EMA, so I'm not going to mark that, but there's reasons people probably took that, and this is all too far from the EMA. You get a first entry, second entry, so that's definitely a trap. And let's see where this is on the chart. I'm not too sure how I feel about that because it's congested, but that's a trap for sure. So you might consider that. We've already had a break of this and move to a new low. So you might think about that. I'm not too crazy about that because the congestion, but you know, you might look at it like this. And you can see the overshoot leads to the break. So, you know, you get this first entry, second entry, nothing there. You don't really have this trend channel drawn. First entry, second entry, higher, low up here. This is just kind of a flat, choppy upward channel, so it's really hard to look at that. I think at this point, you get this overshoot, and that's a second entry short right there. With the overshoot, I like this lower high, to be honest, because this is on both sides of the EMA. You get this lower high with plenty of room back to the EMA. So I think I marked that green, but I really like that, to be honest. And then you get a second entry long, but it doesn't touch the EMA. It's not off a trend channel. We had an overshoot, so that's aggressive too, but you might consider that. And this turns out to be a range. We break higher and it fails. There's no entries in here. And this is just the rest of that flat channel playing out, that flat, not flat, but fairly flat upward channel playing out. And it might, in the end, be steeper. I mean, really, it could be like that too, but I think when it's all said and done, I think this is probably the most accurate because of the midline. So you can see we find ourselves in a range up here. It fails right here. I don't think you can take that, unfortunately, because that's a really nice move down. Then we find support down here, and I think this is I think this larger channel is valid. You can see we find confirmation right here, and this midline looks very accurate, like it's holding prices. I mean, so let's take a look. We bounce. No failures in here or anything. Find congestion at the midline. Lower high right here, but this is all very choppy. We come back again and we bounce, and you get a first entry, failed second entry. That confirms that short-term channel. So if you see this long-term channel, I'm going to have to mark this blue, because if you see all this, I think you can take this. If you see this level of support down here, and we had confirmation of it and a higher low right here, and then you get this failure right here, and it confirms this pink channel, that's a blue. That's a very good setup. But if you don't see all that, this looks like it's congested and there are dojis. But anyway, we come up here, get an overshoot that leads to some congestion, which leads to a break eventually. So we get this break, and this is just tough. It turns out to be a spike in channel, this yellow channel. Let me make this a little lighter. Okay, so we got, you can see we bounce right here, first entry. Obviously you can't take a failure up here, but look at that very strong move up. It's a very strong move up. And you get a first entry, second entry. It's just that this is in no man's land, but this kind of looks like a range with a fail break lower to me. So if you're being super aggressive, you might take that. This probably is also like a spike in channel. Let's see. Not quite. I don't think it starts there. I think the channel probably starts probably like right here. This failed to break lower. That looks pretty good. So maybe you take something like this failure right here. I don't know. Because this is a new low, first entry, failed second entry, but that's pretty aggressive. However, this does look like a nice strong move up. Anyway, you get a first entry, second entry. That's nothing though. There's, first of all, we don't have this confirmed yet, but it's below the EMA. And you get a higher low right here, but it's not. And it kind of looks like this is a second entry, but the signal bar is no good for a second entry. And we're just chopping around this midline, and then we get confirmation right here. That's a first entry, second entry, so that confirms it, and then we get a failure and a higher low off this channel. So I like all that. Let's see where we're at in comparison to the overnight highs. Maybe we made a measured move of some sort. Okay, failed to make that measured move. Maybe, let's see. Okay, so that measured move hits right here. So that could be that sell-off. But those setups look pretty good to me right here. And I think a lot of other people like that. And that's all I really saw for the rest of the day. I'm not trying to go short up here. And this is just so choppy. So I hope everyone had a great week. Next week, I'm probably only going to be able to make a video on Tuesday. So I hope everyone has a great week next week. And I'll see you in a couple weeks.